Welcome to Life List, a birding podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Life List. This is George Armistead, and I am here with my co-host. Our producer, Molly Brown, is at the Southeast Arizona Birding Festival right now in Tucson, where a bunch of our friends are as well. But I would like to say right now, hello, Alvaro.
Hey, hello, George. It seems like you don't have to go to Tucson to actually be frying in terms of weather climate from what I'm hearing. It's kind of hot out your way, huh?
That is accurate. It is plenty warm right here in Philadelphia. Always sunny, as we've discussed before. Yeah, it's like we're pushing triple digits at the moment, and the humidity is pretty overwhelming as well. I like, this is not my favorite time of year around here. July and August, really not my favorite time. Not to say there's not some birds around, but
No trogons, though.
yeah. I'm ready. I'm ready for September cold fronts. Really, really am at this point.
Okay. Well, you're ready. You're ready to hop on that southbound migration train, and then we'll catch up in a few months when you're going to be complaining about the November weather or something, and you'll say, November is one of the months I dislike most in Philadelphia because it's just so cold and miserable and wet and gray or something. So then I'll just be saying, George, I think you just like to complain.
That is first of all, you would be inaccurate when November and December are probably my favorite months of the year for birding around here. Yeah. So basically from October through May is my favorite time. Obviously there's always something to see, but that's that part of the year is my favorite, especially late fall. You got big volumes of birds moving and rarities showing up, and I like gray skies. I like kind of like monochromatic scenes where every now and then you get a splash of color and it's super dramatic. That's my kind of birding.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I got to say that I think on average, people complain most about North America wide. I think not everywhere, because obviously, it differs. Complain about November and March. Those are the two most complained about as a birder. And weather, the weather and the whole thing. And they're the changeover periods, right? You're losing one station, you're getting into another, and people are, I don't know, they feel the loss of the migration ending or the heat is gone. But you're on the other side. You're more like numbers, bring it on.
Yes.
Whew.
Yeah, I like it cold usually. I like it kind of cold and crisp, and I like high volume birds, and usually often the cold is good with that. And but I agree that March is a fickle month. It is a fickle month. It's like, and you've probably seen that meme that goes around the birding community. It seems like every spring, and like in March and April, they talk about, everyone waits for May, right? May is the big month. That's when it all explodes here. That's when the biggest week is, and the World Series of Birding and all these big events, because all the warblers are here and it's warbler mania. And like everyone's waiting for May, the sounds, the color and everything. And so you get like, often it seems like in early March, there'll be a beautiful spring day and you think, my gosh, spring is here. And then, a couple days go by and you get hit by like, a foot and a half of snow. And then you're like, good Lord. And then, a couple weeks go by, another big whack of sun. And you're like, okay, this is it. Spring's really coming now. And then, that second spring, as they call, and then there's a third winter, and it just seems to like go on and on and on until finally you do get to May. But yeah, it's still a fun month. It's a good gull month around here, Alvaro. And I know
March.
Yeah, March is a good gull month. Yeah.
Talking about hating November, when growing up and going to Niagara Falls, that was like sort of the best place for gulls,
Yeah.
But November in Niagara Falls it's so unpleasant. Like it is, you know how people say, oh, it's a wet cold, really get to your bones. That's exactly what it is. It's not yet cold enough to be frozen cold. Sometimes it is, but it's just all humid because the falls are like creating all this crazy humidity and
bone chilling. Yeah.
bone chilling. And then, and you have to be out all day, basically.
Yeah. Yep.
Just
Well,
warm up at the Tim Hortons, get some coffee and
yes,
donuts, eh?
exactly. You're preaching to the choir here, because I just got back from Niagara Falls. I got family up there. So went up
The
to,
U.S. side, right?
yes, the U.S. side. Yeah.
You couldn't go yet to the Canadian. It wasn't
No,
open.
no, I'm actually really eager to do some more Canadian travel. There's a whole bunch of stuff I want to do in Canada, but this was just on the U.S. side
Mhm.
in New York there. And yeah, the only other time I'd been to Niagara was November for the NYSOA conference a few years ago. New York State Ornithological Association was there. And, it was great for gulls, just seeing masses of Bonaparte's gulls and some, seeing little gulls here and there, which are so dapper and good looking little gulls, if you will. Yeah. They're little, it's a good name. And this time it was a bit different. There was not so many birds. It was pretty warm. It was beautiful. The falls were beautiful. A lot of people out and about. It was cool to see.
Kids in shorts with like ice cream, kind of like a Gary Larson cartoon kind of thing.
Exactly. Exactly right. Yeah. Yeah. One of the cool things, though, on the way up, me and my folks, my dad was like, I want to go to Montezuma Refuge. So we actually stopped there in Seneca Falls, spent the night there, and then went to the Montezuma National Wildlife.
And did you say, where? I want to see that quail of yours.
Yeah.
And then
like where's the quail? And I don't see any Mayan ruins here. What's going on?
Yeah.
But no, what we did see though was I finally got a taste of this roseate spoonbill explosion that's going on right now.
I've been hearing about that.
It's crazy. They're everywhere.
I'm so far out removed from that I kind of just like, I don't even know if it's a new one or the same one that they're talking about, or it's like
there's so many.
It's a huge number of spoonbills.
No, like this, I think New York had like 5 or something. West Virginia had like about the same number. I saw Massachusetts just got their first one. Pennsylvania's got a handful. It's crazy what's happening. It's them, swallow-tailed kites, black-bellied whistling ducks. It just seems like all this, all this stuff from further south just seems to be exploding north. It's pretty exciting, but obviously it's it's kind of wonder about the origins of it all, and I think we know it's certainly a chunk of it is climate, but still very cool to see. And Montezuma Refuge is a neat spot. I'm sure a bunch of folks have been there, and I was like excited to just see sandhill cranes walking around there, and those are known to be there. Usually when I see them in the east, it's cause for excitement. I was like, oh my God, right. Sandhill cranes, and it's like, we know they're there.
You know what I always sort of strikes me in these kinds of things happen is that we're always talking about birds and, the movements and the winds and the this and that and the storms and all this stuff. So then this huge thing happens, right? All the eastern birds are seeing spoonbills everywhere. We have no idea exactly why. Like one of the most visible movements of a vagrant, and there'll be all these theories, but nobody will really know. And then that's what strikes me as fascinating on one hand, like we still have so much to learn, and scary on the other hand, because like we don't know anything about how the whole world works, you'd think that something so major, we would be able to pinpoint it. Like, well, one of the most major events in whatever wader history has happened, and it's because of this. And no, there'll be like 10 theories, drought down here, heat down there, and we have no idea.
Yeah. Yeah. It is funny. And I mean, and with roseate spoonbills, I mean, they're not like Henslow's sparrows that are trickling through, that people aren't, roseate spoonbills are a pretty big and pink noticeable bird. So.
Did you check for cage wear on these spoonbills anyway? Like, I'm sure people, maybe somebody bought them for a big circus.
Could be, Alvaro. Yes,
they bought a whole bunch of flamingos for the zoo. Yeah. They realized they got spoonbills, that not the right thing. They just let them go.
Methinks thou dost protest too much. And I wonder if this is all you. If you're saying people don't know why, maybe somebody did this, maybe it was you, Alvaro, came in, got rounded up a bunch of spoonbills from Mexico or something, and release them into the southeast. That's my operating theory.
Could be. I'm not going to deny it. It's the kind of thing I might do but I don't know a guy who sells spoonbills, so it can't be me.
You don't have a spoonbill guy.
No. I mean, there's other stuff I could, I might be able to buy, let's say, easy stuff to buy out there. Brambling, you can get those, I release them all over the place. Yeah.
We can get, we got Coturnix quail, and, like common quail. I don't know if actually common quail, but, the European quail.
It's the quail. Right?
The quail. Yeah. We've got those are like in Rittenhouse Square downtown. They're like turning up, and chuckers are now everywhere. Like there's like, they keep turning up, they escape from the markets here. So if you want a chucker or you want a Coturnix, I got people for that.
Yeah. No, I guess the chuckers, and out here in the West, the bobwhites, they use them for training hunting dogs. So you can buy these things like
Northern bobwhite.
Yeah. You can buy them at, from farms where they, you just throw them out, and I don't know how they use the dogs to train them. It's, if you're supposed to shoot the thing while it's, I don't know. I mean,
just smell them or something.
I don't want to know. Yeah. But they show up all over the place here in random spots. I've seen bobwhite here in town in Half Moon Bay on a garbage can singing, like right on top of the garbage can, going bobwhite, and I thought that sounds like a bobwhite, and sure enough, I find it, and it's just sitting on some person's garbage can in the middle of town, and the people in the hunting scene tell me that that's why they're found all over the place. So
interesting. I didn't know that about bobwhite. I kind of knew that about chucker, but bobwhite now, about the only way you see them around here probably is situations like that where they've escaped somehow. Because it's funny, I grew up birding eastern shore of Maryland and right around our farm. I remember being frightened by exploding coveys of bobwhite. Like if I'm sure some folks will have experienced this still, but around here, you tell birders that have been birding here for 10, even 20 years in this area, a lot of them just have never experienced it. But
but maybe all those exploding bobwhites are, you shouldn't have been exploding them. That's why they're so uncommon now. Planting TNT near bobwhite, it's just not right.
Yeah.
Or are you talking about something else?
I think I'm talking about a little something different. Yeah.
Oh.
The coveys, when they explode into flight, the covey is the flock, right?
Boy.
And
learning new things.
Yeah. And man, when they get up, it's just like a, it's like, and it really, you feel it in your chest. It's like, if it's even 3, 4, or 5 of them, when they get up at once and you're not expecting it, man, it scares the bejesus out of you.
I remember actually growing up with rough grouse, and it was the same thing. You'd be walking around, and it's usually when you were most mellow, you're just sort of walking through the forest, on a trail or something, and this thing would explode, like you say, with the whirring wings and shooting out, and you really felt like, I could have died there just from cardiac arrest. You know? Like, if I was an older man, I'd be dead right now. Yeah. I mean, I wonder how many people are randomly found in the woods dead. And they say, well, died of natural causes. No, it was a rough grouse.
Rough grouse did it again.
Did it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sure, there's a mystery novel to be written with that as the finale somehow.
Yeah, I think so. That'd be a good one, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the coveys of bobwhite. I don't understand. I mean, the whole thing about grassland birds are declining and so forth. But bobwhite seem to be like, they're an edge bird in the places I've seen them commonly. It's sort of a habitat that doesn't seem that rare to me. Like I bet bobwhite are being hit by disease, some virus or something that probably brought over by chicken farms or something. So we're focusing on habitat, and I bet there's a disease component that's hitting them.
That's the case with the ruffed grouse around here. It's West Nile virus is what's hitting them, and it's a state bird of Pennsylvania here. I've only had it a few times. I mostly stick to the southeast of the state, but across the state and really across the east, ruffed grouse numbers have just plummeted, and apparently much of that due to West Nile virus.
Wow, I did not know that. But I think disease is obviously one of those things that can be affecting bird populations that we never account for. It's obvious in Hawaii, like we talked, in past episodes, and sometimes you can sort it out, like with West Nile, but you wonder about how many other little viruses and things are going on, and
stuff we never even know about flies right under the radar.
Yeah, and then we're thinking, well, why is the loggerhead shrike, suddenly so rare and all over the range and habitat, and you're like, some of those habitats aren't changing that much. Why is the thing becoming so rare? It might be disease, But there you go, kids. If you're trying to get a PhD on something,
bird diseases
and their effect on conservation.
Yeah, be interesting stuff. Well, as you say, there is a lot we do not know, a lot we don't know. But Al, I know you've been sending me some pretty cool stuff about what you've been learning while following AOS lately. Maybe you want to fill folks in on that event, what's going on, and some of the stuff you've been learning about.
Yeah, AOS, American Ornithological Society, and then the Society of Canadian Ornithologists, the SCO, which also in French is the SOC, but we won't get into that. They have these annual meetings, right? This is where people give their papers and all this stuff, and awards, and wine and cheese things, but they're all now on virtual.
Yeah.
So regular folk like me can just sign up and listen in and ask questions and all that kind of stuff. So I've been taking in, this meeting that if it was something I'd have to fly to, I would not have had the time to do it. So, while I'm doing other birdie stuff, I'm listening to stuff, and it's pretty amazing. Like there are people doing work on all sorts of stuff, listening about seabirds to, horned larks to, mathematical methods. I just looked at the titles for those because I'm like, I'm not going to understand any of that, but I always gravitate to the evolution, taxonomy, gene stuff. I love behavior and that, but usually there's only so much, I can do in a day. So I've been looking at those, and I've got to say that the word of the year is genomics.
Genomics.
Right? Genomics. There's a good one for you. And you're thinking, oh, that's got genes in it. Must be all this genetic work we're hearing about. And it is, but how like, if you have a computer, the one you had 10 years ago can't do half of the stuff that the computer does today because the technology has been going,
just
ramping up.
Astronomical. Yeah.
Yeah. It's the same thing. Like some of you may remember when they got the full genotype of a human, started with a chicken or some other thing, or a fruit fly. It was a big deal. Well, now you can just code the entire genome of, let's say, an Anna's hummingbird, in your little lab there quickly.
What's it take?
It's easy and cheap,
like a couple weeks or something. It's like less than that.
No, my guess is it's probably within a day or so.
Wow.
Some of these people are sampling like 100 birds here and 100 birds there.
Goodness.
And just the entire genome. So if you were thinking like, why don't they split the, I don't know, Audubon's and Myrtle warbler, and they've been working with these little snippets of genes, sometimes in the mitochondria and all this kind of little bits and pieces. Now they're doing the whole thing, like everything that's coded in that bird is in that info, and they can actually sometimes isolate. They'll compare two birds and they'll say, okay, this bird and that bird, where do they differ? and you'll see, oh, they're differing in their yellow throat or their longer wings or something. And sometimes the genes are known exactly what they do. Like there's melanin genes and you can get to the point of actually seeing differences in specific genes now. Like it is crazy. Like what I'm trying to get at is, I think for a lot of birders, they're like, oh yeah, they've been doing genetic work all the time. It still hasn't figured anything out. It's, more confusing than ever. They're splitting their lumping. They're changing the names. We're gotten to a different level.
They're figuring it out now.
Completely different level.
You were talking about the SNPs before when we were chatting about this earlier, right?
Yeah. Single nucleotide polymorphisms.
You say,
want me to explain what that is?
I don't know. You say it's me that likes the big words, and look at you go.
Yeah, I had to write it down. But because nobody actually can handle those big words, they've shortened it to SNPs. And these are little changes in the genes, and you can plot them out. So they have these plots where on the bottom of the x-axis is all the different genes along each chromosome, and then the differences are up and down on the y-axis, and they kind of look like a skyscrapers, little buildings, short ones, tall ones, whatever, depending on what's going on. So they call these things Manhattan plots. So I've been seeing all these. Look, a few days ago, I had no idea what a Manhattan plot was. I'd heard the SNPs. I knew about genomics, but now I'm like well-versed in Manhattan plots, and I mean, I think, one of the things I've enjoyed is seeing these new techniques and the dumb name. Well, they're not dumb. They're actually fun. Manhattan plot's a fun name rather than calling it, whatever. Yeah. And you get the visual, right? The little buildings kind of thing. But they also, they do another analysis called Abba Baba, right? I mean,
like Fred Flintstone gene.
Right. Either that or they're ABBA fans. I don't know.
As I recall, you've been to an ABBA concert. We'll have to talk about that at another point. But yeah,
ABBA Baba. So ABBA Baba. And the other thing that they're doing now is an analysis called Bedazzle. so you can take your bedazzled ABBA Baba and put your SNPs on the old Manhattan plot and figure out the birds. But in any case, all of these things doing this genomics, and some of them, I've found that there are bits of the chromosome, like chunks of genes that get flipped, and they call these inversions. They get flipped, and then they act as a unit when they're passed on to, the next generation. So one guy, Eric Funk, was his name. He wrote about, he talked about redpolls. And, redpolls are like, boy, I mean,
source of confusion, frustration. Yeah. But still, right? Everyone loves them though, right? Everyone loves redpolls at the same time.
People can't wait, are they going to come down this year? I don't know. Wait till February. That's the best time.
Yeah.
And then, then it's like, then you see them, and then it's like the common and the hoary, and maybe you get the big Greenland ones and the this and that, and there's all this ID stuff, and no, it wasn't, and yes, it was, and some of them are obvious, some of them are, and then other people are like, this is all one species, they're just variable. Others say, no way, man, like if you've ever seen a real hoary redpoll, you will know, you will smell that species.
You'll feel it in your soul.
Feel it in your soul. So this researcher finds that these inverted bits of the chromosome are actually coding for hoariness, right?
The whiteness, you should maybe specify.
The whiteness.
Yes.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I'm not talking about any kind of
HOARINESS.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not casting aspersions. Yes.
Or innuendo of any kind.
Certainly not. No.
Ever.
Not here.
But what is cool is he suggested that the hoary and common redpolls were interbreeding, and they were sharing genes, and they were kind of one genetic kind of population. But to the north, the inversion of that population created this more white, small-billed, less pink bird. In the south, it was a browner, streakier, more pink bird with bigger bills. So he suggested that the environment, the latitude, was maintaining this polymorphism but that they were sharing genes. Now, what that means is that everybody is right.
It's not possible, Alvaro. It's not
right.
allowed. Not allowed.
That they are acting as a different species on one level because they're maintaining these two different genotypes.
But they share
different. But they're sharing genes, and others could say, well, lump them. And this is why it's never been figured out. And some of the older genetic stuff was showing essentially no genetic difference between any redpoll whatsoever. And he said, essentially, yes, there's almost no difference because they're sharing genes. But in this one important thing, this flipped over inverted bit that you could only figure out through this genomics thing, they are different. So then it's like, we're almost going to have to rewrite how you do biological species. If you have kind of an ecotype.
Oh, boy.
Or let's call it that, ecotype within a species.
Okay.
And then you start thinking, could there be an inversion in red crossbills? I bet there is. I bet there's a bill.
Evening grosbeaks.
Yeah, evening grosbeaks. And some of these finches have this stuff going on. And other birds, like he was talking about and another guy was talking about horned larks.
Or what about the Savannah sparrows? Is that maybe?
Yeah. Could be. Yeah. But I mean, out of what was being talked about in this, there's some pretty cool stuff being figured out by this genomics and the Manhattan plots and and this whole inverted gene thing. Super genes, they're calling them, right? So, and sometimes the super gene is linked to the sex chromosome. So females can actually on the genetic plot be different, like in horned larks, look totally different from the males, even though they're sharing genes because they have. And I was just blown away. Like I couldn't understand half of this stuff. Some of it kind of trickled in. And
sounds like you do a lot better than I would have done. So it's fascinating, but man, bewildering.
Oh yeah, and chromosomes are being chopped up and then being stuck onto the wrong chromosome, and then there's like little bits that can be added and subtracted and moved around, and then you realize, oh, some of this stuff that we're seeing is all chromosomal chunks and bits that act as units. So then it starts clarifying a lot of things in the bird world for me. Like it sort of opened up my mind to correlated, you can think of ducks, for example. Why is it that some ducks, like have the green stripe on their head, kind of the teal pattern, and the hybrids, the teal pattern comes out, and you're thinking like, like maybe it's a super kind of gene going on that can be turned off or on, or it's got, I was just blown away by what these younger biologists are doing and some of the techniques that they have available. It's like having supercomputer genetic stuff at their fingertips that is just going to revolutionize everything. And, all you naysayers, that the genetic stuff hasn't cleared up anything. It actually has. We just have been learning how to, we haven't had all of it yet until now. Like now the entire book is
being opened and written. Yeah.
And it gets, we've chatted about this over the years. Every year we're alive as birders. We always say this is the most interesting time ever to be alive as a birder.
Yeah.
And it is again this year.
Yeah.
It's like new info, new stuff, new technology,
The increasingly golden era of birding and ornithology really is amazing.
Yeah.
How much we're learning, how fast.
If we can figure it all out before the entire world just goes up in flames, from global
that would be so great.
Change,
yeah.
That would be great. That last minute we'd be like, now we know it all. And then we just self-destruct.
We're gonna see the light. Yeah, that'll be great. Yeah. Just before there's nothing but light.
Very exciting stuff.
Yeah.
But, there's more to talk about. We'll leave some of it for other times because there were things about blackbirds and
white-breasted nuthatch sounded cool.
White-breasted nuthatch.
Yeah.
Yellow-nosed albatrosses. Oh boy. Holy moly.
Wow.
Eye color and bow-tailed grackles. I know you'd be excited about that one.
Yeah, that's right up my alley. Certainly right up your alley. That's for sure. Those icterids. I know how you are about those icterids. Everybody does.
I love those birdies. Nashville warblers, eastern and western ones. Oh, am I whetting your appetite for more? Not really, right? You're like, let's move on.
No, I am curious. I mean, it seems like the birding of the stuff we've discussed here is, as far as the redpolls go, what everyone's wondering, right? Is do they get to keep hoary redpoll? And what you're saying is, who
Maybe.
knows? Because the species concept basically is going to be redrawn.
I think there's going to have to be some kind of reworking when you have stable genetic populations that create a different look and feel to a bird, but yet they're sharing genes. So if you're really kind of orthodox species, biological species concept, you'd say, well, they're all the same thing. They're sharing genes. But another person could say, well, no, hold on. The environment somehow is creating a rift there in the look, and even, who knows, maybe vocalizations of the bird, and that I think that's important. So others might say we're going to count those as two species, even though they share genes. Then it's going to be interesting.
It's only going to get more interesting. That is one certainty, I feel.
Yeah. And yeah. Oh boy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I wish I'd gotten to tune into some of that. We were talking earlier about how different it is too. These used to be AOU, now AOS has united several groups, right? And I remember still very well the one AOU convention I got to go to here in Philly. I went to the IOU in Vancouver a couple of years too, which was really cool. But it's seeing all the newest research being discussed as it's kind of really on the cusp of being published or just published, and seeing all these bright minds, people really together discussing what they're studying and what they're finding out. That convention was one of the most thrilling things I've ever been to. I mean, also, if you read, you read these names of people that are doing this work, and you think, boy, they know so much, and then you meet these folks, and you realize how much they're learning. It's inspiring to be around. It's inspiring to learn about.
Yeah. And what's interesting for me is, like, when I watch these things now versus when I was younger, I used to go, live and then go see these talks by these well-known people, and kind of go, oh my God, there's so-and-so, almost like a,
like a celebrity.
Big fan. Yeah.
Yeah. I was totally a fanboy at the ones I went to. I was a complete fanboy. I was just like, totally geeking out here.
Yeah. Could you sign my book? And then today, maybe because the people who are presenting tend to be younger because of the virtual level of this rather than live. I'm way more excited about this work done by people I've never heard of before, and no offense to any of the people who are, what I'm saying is I'm not tuned in enough to know who they are, maybe.
Sure. Yeah.
But they're younger ornithologists or ecologists and doing stuff that's blowing me away more so than sort of the older bigwigs.
Yeah. And I think there's just more work going on now as well, right? It just seems like there's a lot more work going on.
Yeah. No, it's exciting. And then, there's all the ecology and conservation stuff and whatever. We just talked about these genomics, but man, everything's going on.
Yeah. One thing we were talking about too earlier, which I thought was really cool. Last episode we talked about Olympics and Olympians a bit and some extreme cases. And I really feel like we could dig deeper there. We kind of went, with some stuff we thought was pretty cool and stuff we was interesting to learn about or that was well known. And I would actually love to return to that subject at some point. And if folks have Olympians they want to share with us, please do. We'd love to share that with everybody else. But one thing that was shared on one of the Facebook pages that I know that you and I both like to monitor are the North American Gulls. Amar Ayash has kind of runs that and has done a great job with it. And there's all sorts of interesting discussion there for the gull freaks like you and I. But one thing I think anybody could appreciate, whether
I'm not sure I like it, but I'm drawn to it like drugs.
Yeah, it's sort of like a car crash. You just can't turn away. Yeah.
I'm right in there, giving my opinions when I should be working, but hey.
Yeah. Late at night after a beer or two, it's very, it's a slippery slope. One has to be careful, but
old junkie.
Yeah, exactly. Don't ID and drink at the same time. It is a slippery slope, but yeah, one of the cool things was we saw this week was there was a new longevity record, which is, the longest living individual of a species. And it was for California gull, a gull that was banded in Greeley, Colorado in 1977 was just found dead recently. And
wasn't there a Beach Boys song about California gulls? No,
there was.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
I got one wrong.
Yeah. I wish they all could be California gulls. Yeah. But this one was 44 years old, man. 44 years old, which not only is a record for California gull, but is a record for all gulls by 10 years, apparently. 10 years.
Wow. So I guess it's the living's good in California, except it was in Colorado. Oh,
yes.
Colorado's the place to be then.
And where's the state bird? What is the state bird? Which state has the California gull as its state bird?
It would be where the Mormon crickets live.
That's correct.
Classified as locusts. Misclassification. Which, Utah?
Yeah. The California gull is the state bird of Utah. Always seemed a little strange, but it is a cool story nonetheless.
Yeah. That saved the settlers, the original Mormon settlers, from locusts.
Eating
which
all
apparently
their crops.
are these things called Mormon crickets. So they weren't locusts at all, but that's what I heard.
Yeah.
Maybe that locust story is. Maybe
it's apocryphal. I don't know, but yeah, certainly is a good story. Regardless, I think it's a true story. Certainly.
Yeah. Interior gulls eat a lot of insects.
The laughing gulls do too.
Gulls,
yeah.
Laughing. Yeah. Ringbills, a lot of insects.
They're fast. Good at hawking insects.
Do you know that there's a place in the Niagara area where they grow cherries and the ringbill gulls eat the cherries? They perch on the trees and eat the cherries. They're like the major problem the farmers have is ringbill gulls.
No, it's sort of like it's like the mew gulls up in Alaska, right? Don't they love like gooseberry and I think they eat quite a bit of fruit, those mew gulls.
God, no wonder gulls do well,
Yeah.
It's not just French fries.
That's right. They're smart, man. They know how to steal chips, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah, if you want like scary bird videos, go to Gull Ate My Lunch, on YouTube.
Did I tell you about
the aggressive gulls?
They've got on the Jersey Shore now on the boardwalk, they've got raptors out there to keep the laughing gulls at bay. So
Really?
Yeah, I can't remember if I told you this or not. I didn't tell you this, right? I was like, I am not a beach person really. Like I like going to the beach in the dead of winter, when there's nobody there and there's birds all over the place. And so, but I went down there with Kristen and our family and stuff. We went down, we're walking the boardwalk, we're doing the boardwalk thing. People are getting funnel cake, and Manco's pizza and all that. And I'm like, as in the head,
I don't even know what those things are, by the way. So.
Jersey folks will know. But yeah, so all of a sudden I noticed there's these like fish crows that are just like diving on something. And I'm like, I wonder what they're about. Here we are on the boardwalk. I wonder if they're getting after somebody's feeding them or something. Like, what's going on? And I go up and I'm like, oh wow, there's a raptor sitting on that pole. And I'm getting closer and I'm like, what the heck is this raptor? And I can't tell. And I'm getting closer. This is Ocean City, New Jersey. And and I'm like, man, it looks like a Harris hawk, but obviously, it can't be a Harris hawk like this. This isn't, it's Texas or something. And I'm getting closer, and I'm like, looks like a Harris hawk, but can't be a Harris hawk. And I just keep doing that, as I'm getting closer and closer, that loop is playing in my head. And finally, I'm like, it's a goddamn Harris hawk.
That's when you get a little really bad picture of it and put it on "What's this bird" on Facebook.
Yeah. Well, finally, I got close enough to see it had jesses. It had it had jesses. It was a falconer's bird, and they use it to keep the laughing gulls at bay. They also had a big beastly peregrine. I wonder if it was like a hybrid with like a saker falcon or something. The thing looked enormous.
That'd be really cool if that specific peregrine, how they named them and stuff, would be Snooky. Since you're out there in that part of the world.
Snooky, the saker hybrid.
Yeah, falcon.
Yeah, I remembered. A couple of years ago at the Cape May Fest, that gyr-falcon got loose. They have a captive white gyr-falcon. Thing got loose, was ripping all around down the shore. I think they saw it at the Hawk Watch. It's like,
Now that guy who, does the hawk things.
Yeah.
Right? Every time I've seen him, he's lost a bird.
I remember the Aplomado got loose in Texas one time. It's like, I think one of our friends had to go throw a coat over it to try to get it from, going into the windows or something. Yeah.
Right. I don't know. Just saying.
Little dicey there. Yeah. A little questionable maybe. Yeah.
I know. But not all falconers are really good at what they do, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. There's good ones and there's, not so good ones. Yeah.
Not so good ones.
Yeah. Well, this California gull, the 44-year-old, got me looking at other longevity records, just out of curiosity. We've talked about this a bit before, you and I. And if folks are interested, there's some fascinating material you can find on the USGS site. Longevity records of North American birds. Looks like it was updated most recently January of 2021. And this is down there at Patuxent Wildlife Research Center where the bird banding lab is. And man, I think everybody knows about wisdom, right? Is the oldest known bird ever and is still living and producing eggs and young in Midway Atoll.
Old, I think this year. 70.
Yeah, 70 years old on Midway Atoll, Laysan Albatross. So that's pretty crazy. What I didn't know is that there's actually seems to be another Laysan albatross that's only a year younger than Wisdom out there as well. Still, I think kicking.
You know the story about Wisdom. The part that I find coolest is not that it's so old, but Chandler Robbins, right? Yeah. Who's the person who wrote the? I think most birders know him as the person who wrote the Golden Guide.
Yeah,
but he's
amazing,
revolutionary guy.
Yeah, he really is.
Like you might have, you probably know that he started the Breeding Bird Survey.
Yep. Yeah.
And he was in the Fish and Wildlife Service, one of the first real bander kind of, people who got banding really going, and sort of made it not only into science, but, he was out there banding stuff on these islands and these seabirds. So he was out there, 20 years ago or something. And they were,
it's Midway. You're talking about on Midway Atoll. Yeah.
Yeah. And they were, you can just walk up to the albatross and just grab them. If they have
they're on those little chimney smokestack nests, right? They're just kind of sitting right there on the beach. Yeah.
And they band them. And then what they were doing is actually any that had a band that was super old, they were replacing the bands with new ones and putting color bands on them as well. So he sees this one with a super old band.
Right. It was caked in guano, right? It was they couldn't even read it.
Yeah. It's so they pull off this band and they reband it and they find, get the number. And it turns out that it was banded 70 or 69, whatever years ago it was. And it was by Chandler Robbins.
Yeah.
So he found it. He first banded it and he rebanded it. And what's the chance of that, right?
Yeah,
and the chance was high because he had such an input on all these projects, that.
Can you imagine? Amazing guy. Yeah, amazing guy, and yeah, legend, and yeah, I got to spend a month in the Yucatan birding with Chan and got to know him a little bit, and he passed away I think in 2017. It was incredible man, and yeah, I feel like we all owe him a lot. Those of us that are bird aficionados, but I always think about that same story, Alan. What it must have been like, you know, and I never did get to talk to him about it, about, what it must have been like to remove that band. And I'm sure he thought, geez, I probably banded this bird, but we're going to have to check and see what the deal is. And I think they had to like dissolve the band and, some kind of mixture to get all the debris off to be able to read it. And then all of a sudden realizing that you'd banded it like over 50 years ago. I mean, that's gotta be just an incredible feeling, to know that.
Yeah. No, and the other thing is, if you think about so albatrosses, Laysan albatross is one of the smaller albatrosses.
Yeah.
Right?
In the Goonie bird group, right? The Goonie birds.
In the Goonie bird group, all North Pacific species. So in general, bigger birds live longer than smaller birds as a general rule. And it's going to be clear that a wandering albatross or a short-tailed albatross eventually will have the record. It won't be a Laysan, right?
Right.
But they're living so long that there haven't been enough projects going that long for us to know yet. You know what I'm saying? Like there's birds that were, Laysan, short-tailed albatrosses that were banded 70 years ago, zilch, right? None exist because of their conservation situation. Wandering, probably not that many. So until we sort of cycle through another 10, 20, 30 years, we'll have these records being broken by bigger seabirds.
Yeah.
My guess is wandering albatross or royal is going to be one.
Yeah, it's got to be one of those great albatrosses, the wandering, the royals. I bet you some of those things live over 100 years. Like just to illustrate your point, Al, bird that you see a lot of. Do you know what the longevity record is for ashy storm petrel?
Ooh, seabirds live a long time, even if they're relatively small. I would say 35 years.
30 years. 30 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, pretty darn close. I'm impressed. I would have guessed like 16 or something. I don't know, but there's leeches that have been 26 years old. But yeah, as you say, ashy storm petrels, it's not a real big bird, but they can live a long time. They can live a long time.
Yeah. Seabirds have a really, really low mortality rate once they're adults. Like it's almost flat. And one of the things about birds that is incredible to me, and it's especially true with seabirds, is they don't senesce. Like, how mammals get older and they start looking, we get gray hair, we start like hunching over. Birds don't have that. And seabirds in particular, just, 70-year-old Laysan albatross looks as healthy and fit as one in its 20s.
That's 6 or 10 years old. Yeah.
Yeah. And mammals don't behave that way. Mammals, especially possums, possums start falling apart at year 2. I don't know if you've ever seen possums walking around where it's like, looks like they're about to decompose. They're one of the fastest aging creatures on Earth are Virginia possums.
I did not know that about opossums. It's one of the few mammals, like wild mammals, you will even see right downtown in Philadelphia. Here, I've seen them, just in some of the most urban areas, and some of them look pretty roughed up. Yeah,
I know they don't. Possum never looks like. Yeah, they all kind of look like it's they're on, just gotten off the hobo train or something. Whether you're like, it's sort of like with hey, it's like.
Yeah, they look like they should be smoking a cigarette and have like a jacket full of watches they're trying to sell or something.
Yeah, or be the guitarist on the Rolling Stones or something like that. They just look like they've seen better days.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny. Every now and then here, like they'll show up. Someone will like just
the Stones. No,
yeah, like every now and then I'll get like a photo from somebody's front porch in downtown Philly, someplace, of a possum just like curled up on their porch or their step, like nursing young. And you're just like, wow, look at that. Just like.
Speaking of which, like with the internet, you start seeing things that are, well, the bird internet. Let's like restrict it to what we deal with. But
Sure.
there are weird things in the internet and imagery that I've found odd that shows up in the bird related internet, and it's sleeping birds in porches. Have you noticed this? Like, there's a whole, like, what is this thing? Like, and it's usually some random person who's just got this bird sleeping in the porch. So they take a photo, then they go to what bird is this, or like identify this bird, and then they post it.
It's like a roosting
And
bird. It's
a roosting bird. It's like a ball. It's just like a ball of feathers with like a tail sticking out. That classic like sleeping. And they're almost always Carolina wrens. And I was amazed at how many people have Carolina wrens randomly sleeping on their porches. Like, that's a thing they do. I would never have known that, like, other than the weirdness of the internet. So
that seems seems like people could have fun with that. Carolina wrens are amazing. They're so cool.
Yeah, no, but with these longevity records, there's some other aspects that seem to be worldwide. Tropical birds tend to live, they say, longer on average per size than temperate birds. Seabirds tend to be the longest lived of birds. They also have, obviously, some of these seabirds have real low reproductive rates. They're kind of like an ashy storm-petrel you're talking about. It doesn't reproduce much more quickly than a condor does.
Right. It might be like every 2 or 3 years or something like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, depending on the situation, one egg.
Yeah.
Murs make one, and then you think of wrens, like wrens.
Right. They churn them out as fast as they can. Yeah.
Boy, yeah. They get a whole bunch of them, popping out.
You get house wrens, males that'll build like 8 or 10 nests a year. Of course, they don't use them all, but they just go crazy.
Yeah. But I do wonder, if you got that site up, like, what is the oldest hummingbird, like a ruby-throated or rufous hummingbird? I bet we're going to be surprised at how old some of those little birds live even.
Yeah. So, hummingbirds, let's see, there's magnificent hummingbird has lived to be 11 years old.
Oh, wow.
There's a bunch of ruby throats in the 9 years, which is that's definitely older than I might have guessed. Black-chinned that have lived to be 11 years old, 12-year-old broadtail,
wow.
buff-bellied 11-year-old, and then all of a sudden I'm at Puerto Rican toady, lived to be 12 years old. And of course, these are minimums, right? Because we know when they were banded, and then some of these birds might have lived for a couple of years, even beyond. But here's an acorn woodpecker, lived to be 17 years, California.
Wow,
bunch of cool ones.
It's it's interesting to think about, like, age, longevity, how all this happens is actually under the kind of shaping power of natural selection. So the reason why a opossum doesn't live very long is there's a reason for it. There's sort of selection going on to make that creature a short-lived one versus bats. Bats are very long-lived for their size. And similarly, I bet there's going to be some weirdo little bird somewhere that somebody's going to realize it's like lives a heck of a long time for its size, and there'll be some biology behind why that is.
Right. And it'll probably be some tropical bird or something that's non-migratory and keeps a small territory or something.
Yeah. Maybe eats fruit, those, blueberries are supposed to be very good for you. And all those, antioxidants.
That's right. High in antioxidants. Yeah. That's key, man.
Yeah. I mean, you can only dance like a mannequin if you have, like, really good food. This is little moonwalking mannequins.
Yeah, you got to have a lot of mellostones around. Yeah,
man, you can't do that on sugar like a hummingbird. Hummingbirds look cool, but they can't dance like mannequins.
Yeah,
let's face it.
No, that's tall order right there. Yeah. Well, listen, man, we are coming up on the time. I think
Done already?
Yeah, do you believe it?
I was just starting.
I know.
Jeez.
Hopefully, everyone's still listening and enjoying. But
Maybe
it is fun
or
talking.
People listen to this thing.
I know, crazies. Yeah, thanks everybody for listening and for your feedback. And we really are enjoying this and enjoying connecting with you. And looking forward to doing it again soon. And any final thoughts, Alvaro?
Connection. Send us questions, thoughts, topics, because right now it would be lovely to have people sort of incorporate some of their ideas and some of that and feel more connected to the listeners that are out there. And I'm enjoying this a lot, George. It's just riffing on these bird topics. It's fun, and eventually we'll also be wanting to talk to other people, interview people here and there, and some ideas on who that might be would be also great.
Yeah.
Send us anything.
Yeah. And we've gotten some nice, been connecting with folks, and we're looking forward to doing some cross-pollination pods with friends as well, who are on the podosphere, as nobody says but me. But yeah. Cool, man. Well, thanks, Al. Have a good day, everybody. Thanks again. We'll be in touch soon.
All right. Bye-bye.